Good morning, everyone. I think we will get started. My name is Lauren Dow, and I am the Communications Coordinator for the National Road Research Alliance, and I want to welcome you today to the October edition of Research Pays Off. Today we have some MnDOT speakers joining us, and if you were with us last month to hear Cheryl Richter from the Federal Highway Administration, she mentioned InfoPave quite a bit, and so this is a great follow-up to what she had to say and kind of her brief introduction of the importance of that system. And so we thank you for being here, and you can mark your calendars for November 17th for our next Research Pays Off. We don't have our speaker lined up quite yet, but more information will be coming about that soon. So today we have Ben Worel and Steve Henrichs, both from MnDOT, and both play integral roles in our MnROAD facility. And so they'll be talking about a couple different platforms that are used by MnDOT to track information and data all about our test cells and test sections. So Ben is going to start us off. If you have any questions, please add those to the chat box, and we'll be sure to get to those at the end. Thanks.
Alrighty, my name is Ben Worel. I'm the MnROAD Research Operation Engineer, and I welcome you to the Research Pays Off series we're doing today. And today we're talking about two different systems that MnDOT has been using for a while. One that's fairly new, the InfoPave system, and then one that's been around a while for tracking our test sections that we do throughout the state. And so today we'll be going over those. I'd like to welcome you from Minnesota. It's supposed to snow 2 inches today, so welcome winter, I guess. Also, I'd like to thank the people who are attending today. I noticed even our friend from Germany, Bastien, is on. Nice to see you online. And there'll be other groups, I think, involved with the accelerated pavement testing, kind of looking at what we're doing with the InfoPave system. But a quick introduction. The local test section tracking that we're going to be talking about, I'll talk about first, has to do with Minnesota develops lots of different test sections by lots of different people throughout the state. And so when we try innovative new things, we needed a system that would track those locations we put them and also track who put them down. And the idea of this whole system was to better communicate what's been done. So for example, if I was interested in a certain aspect like Petromat or chip seals or anything like that, I could do a search on there, bring up some names, bring up some locations. So maybe we could talk to those people and learn more about those subjects without having to do additional research. So that's kind of the basis for that. It allows users from anywhere in the state of Minnesota to access it, to put in there what they've done, and then to kind of have that whole feedback on what's been going on. Related to the MnROAD system, that's MnROAD NRRA. MnROAD's been collecting data for 30 years. Steve is going to be talking about this. But we have 30 years of data that's been collected on both the Low-Volume Road and the main line, plus some other facilities that we've done throughout the state and also Missouri. So he'll be talking about how we've moved that data from our Oracle database that's just was centralized in Minnesota, and how we're trying to get that out online for people to utilize. And again, this is a really good system, I believe, is it's taken the InfoPave system from FHWA, and it allows, we simplified it to our use, but this could be something that other accelerated testing facilities could utilize the structure of our database and put the data in and utilize the system fairly easy if they wanted to put their data online. So let me start with Minnesota local test section tracking. Again, there's you can access through the Local Road Research Board. They and MnDOT has kind of worked together to develop this. You can see the links there. But again, it's a way to document the new products, designs, and construction practices that are going on, like I mentioned earlier. And you know, it's really allowing to see what other people have tried and contact them to follow up on it. It's a fairly simple system. that city, county, state engineers and our research groups should use, through the universities and the state. So looking at that a little closer, the test section tracking, when you get to the site, you can see kind of the layout that's on the Local Road Research Board page right now. I'll talk about entering the data first, and then we'll talk about what's in the system. But really, when if you do have an idea or if you've done some different things, you can log into the system. So you just click there in the top corner. That brings you up to a page where you can enter in a test section. So if you did something innovative and wanted to let other people know about it, you can enter that information in there. It really just asks for your contact name, the type of work that was done, the location, GPS coordinates, and those details. And you can edit it later as needed. But we developed this as a fairly simple method, and that's what it's designed for right now. That always could be expanded in the future. So when you want to look at new data, there's lots of different ways to do it, but I think the best way to do it is you can click on each of those points on the map. You can see how there's one section in that's actually South Dakota that was put, so really you could enter sections from anywhere in the country here. But that was an SPS 8 section for LTPP that was put there. But when you go to the filter mode, that's how you can look at the data probably the best way, and that narrows your search down. So when you click on that, it kind of brings up a chart here that you can simply click in the different boxes. Again, this will bring you into those different areas where you can look at areas related to asphalt, if it's new construction or preventive maintenance or rehabilitation, concrete, the same thing. You can look at lightly surfaced roads, gravel. So you can kind of narrow down your whole thing. And this also includes some different things like rumple strips, pavement markings, and things like that, non-quote material related pavements. And look at structures also. So for example, if we looked at rehabilitation of asphalt roads under mill and overlays, we apply the filter. That'll bring you into the different sections that we have for mill and overlays, some innovative things that have been done throughout the state. And the idea here is that you can click on these and you can kind of bring all these together. You can find out more information when you click on that one section. That was a section on Route 210. It was a mill and overlay. You click on that itself, then you kind of see the layout of where it's at. You can see Bridget Miller, D3 Soils Engineer, entered this from MnDOT. This was a control section of a 5-inch bituminous overlay, blade laid. And so just basic information on that, and that's part of another effort that's going on. But again, you can do this for each of the test sections. You can bring them all together too, so you know all the different things that have been done with mill and overlay in the state. So this could be kind of a literature review in some ways for research projects and things like that. The other thing you can do is you can look at the map itself. You can click on different things. There's ways of going through and getting all the information, but I just wanted to point out that that's out there, that this is some system that if it would work really well if people did put what they're doing in the system to track what's going on and communicate to others what's going on, so they can kind of build off the research that's been done. In the future, I guess right now it's kind of a limited system in some ways where it could be developed a little farther. Right now, Minnesota, the IT group is assessing the software and its compatibility for future use. We're also talking about user interface improvements. There's some things that are not quite very easy to follow, but we're kind of working on that. We're trying to figure out the best way to host this and kind of fund for the improvements that are coming up. But doing things like this, kind of showing what it can be used for and kind of the benefits of learning from each other is kind of where we're at with that. So that was just your quick introduction to the test section tracking. I just wanted people to be aware of that and kind of go from there. So with that, Lauren, we can move over to Steve. And if there's any questions, maybe while Steve's converting over, you can let me know. If people can mute your phones, that would be great. Lauren, any questions?
There is one question. Is there a connection between the app and pavement measures?
Not right now. Again, it's a very simple method of different groups being able to document what they've done and where it's at. That's pretty much where that's at right now. We can make those improvements, and we're looking for some input on that, but that could be a possibility.
Okay, and someone asked for the URLs to be posted into the chat to access those features and the application, so I added those in there for everyone.
Okay, yep, thank you. All right, well, I guess Steve is here now. He can kind of update us on the MnROAD InfoPave system that's taking the MnROAD data from our database and setting it online. So Steve, go ahead.
All right, everybody hear me and my slides are up?
Yep.
All right, well, hello everyone. I'm Steve Henrichs, the MnDOT System Pavement Design Engineer, and I'll be speaking today about MnROAD data on InfoPave. I'll talk about how to use InfoPave and what data is on it. All right, InfoPave is the FHWA website to access LTPP data. That's the long-term pavement performance program, which is pavement test sections from all around the United States and Canada. You can get to the front page of InfoPave by following this address, or you can just do a web search for InfoPave, and we should be getting a link on the MnROAD page. And on InfoPave, they gave MnROAD its own little area just for its data. To get to the MnROAD data, go to the end of the middle toolbar where it says non-LTPP, click on that, and click on the MnROAD data in the drop-down. And that will bring you to the MnROAD overview page. There's a handy video with directions, and there are some explanations of section ID and roadways, and there's a navigation toolbar. The important thing to remember about the toolbar is that you want to work from the left to the right. So on the overview page, it has this list of roadways. It's a list of all the roadways that have data in InfoPave. There's the MnROAD main line, the original main line, and the low volume loop. Each is its own roadway. And CASA 8 and US 69 sections up by Ps are each roadways too. And we have some other sections from around the state and some Missouri data too. But 70th Street and Highway 6 at Emily were too new to get in there. Every roadway is split into cells. Here's the map of the MnROAD main line, which I copied from InfoPave. And you can see all the different cells. Each cell has a unique number and is in both lanes. Over time, the cell numbers might change, usually when the cell boundaries change or the cell gets split up. But a cell number might be reused for many different studies and have different sections over time. So cells by themselves don't work well for InfoPave because the same cells get reused or modified. So instead of cells, data in InfoPave goes by section ID. So a section ID starts with the cell number, then each cell has two lanes. So we have D for driving, P for passing, and I for the inside lane of the low volume loop, and O for outside. Then we added a year for when the pavement section changed. So if a cell was reconstructed or even just chip sealed or diamond ground, that would result in a new section ID. But a spot repair or a crack seal would not. The rule is anything with a thickness to the entire section to entire surface needs a new section ID. So working left to right on the toolbar, so working left to right on the toolbar just after overview is select section. In the main body, you see a list of the sections starting at 1D 1991. Then something happened to it, some kind of change, and it became 1D 2006, then 1D 2012. On InfoPave, you can slide to the right and see what happened to it then. You'd see it got split into cells 101 and 201. In yellow at the top, you can see what sections are filtered. Right now it says it's not filtered. It's showing everything, 764 sections. But you can filter those sections on the left in the Find Sections area. So here I've blown up the Find Sections area. You can filter data by study. Studies have a title that explains what they're about, and they usually have several sections in them, so they work pretty well to filter by. Or you can filter by the list of roadways, or you can choose from the list of sections if you happen to know the section ID you want. Or keyword, you should be able to enter something like warm mix asphalt, and the filter will then just show you sections that have warm mix asphalt in them. The other choices in structure and traffic will show you a list of options to choose from when you click on them. So here's an example of filtering. I've clicked on study, and then I just started to write in stabilize. But before I even finished, I got 2 studies on stabilized full depth reclamation, and I clicked on one of them. But I could have selected both of them if I wanted to, or even added in some other studies. So from now on in my slides, everything will be filtered for just the one study that I selected here. Oops. So now on select sections, the yellow area says I have 8 sections, and they're shown below. They are both lanes of 3 cells of the main line, which gives us 6 sections, and both lanes of 1 cell on the low volume loop for 2 more sections. Usually adjacent lanes have the same pavement section. They're in the same study, but not always. Next on the toolbar is data availability. It's a pie chart that shows how many sections have data in different categories, and this is useful to know if the sections you filtered for have the data that you're interested in. So here I'm showing it filtered for those 8 stabilized sections. It's all filled in blue except for one little piece. There is no traffic on one lane of the low volume road, so it's showing up as 7 of 8 sections have traffic data. Next on the toolbar is view data, and under that is several choices. The first one is design overview. This is just a short summary of this section, as the section description, the study name, traffic, and a couple other things. Next is layer structure. This is a drawing of the layer thicknesses and materials. At the top, you can change the section as being shown. If it's filtered, it will just give you those choices that you filtered for. And the way that we have section ID set up, each section ID only gets one of these drawings. If the layers change, then it will have resulted in a new section ID. And there's a little floppy disk icon there on the right, and that's so you can download the image to your computer. Next up is timeline. Timeline shows the history of the cell. It'll show the change in the section IDs over time and their dates. And it'll show any other activities like patching that didn't result in a new section ID. This example only has sections on it, so there aren't any other activities. And also under view data are performance graphs. You get a few choices for what to graph. Asphalt sections will have graphs of of asphalt things available, like rutting and HMA transverse cracking. In concrete sections, we'll have concrete things like PCC cracking, but it won't give you the option of any blank graphs. Only things with data will pop up. In the middle there, you're able to select up to 4 different sections to compare on the same graph. So here's an example of a chart of IRI data with 2 sections plotted in it. One from the main line and one from the low volume road. It has a pretty busy legend. Each section has 3 different IRIs that are available to be graphed. First from van 1, that was the original survey van at MnROAD that was retired in I think 2000. These sections are too new, so van 1 has no data points. Then there is van 2, that's van 1's replacement, and then the Lisa, which is the lightweight inertial profile, and they got plotted. So the blue and green lines are IRI from cell 2 on the main line, and the pink and purple are from cell 28 on the low volume. So right now in this graph, the horizontal axis is set to the survey date, but we can change that. We can change the horizontal axis with the drop down kind of at the top there. And you can choose survey date, easels, or age. And in this example, charting by easels looks quite a bit different than by date, because one section has interstate traffic on it, and the other one is just loaded by a single truck, which in comparison is next to no easels. So it plotted up along the axis. And also in view data are PDFs of the distress maps. These are made just at the MnROAD navigate to them all. They're all in there, and they're nice to look at because you can see how specific cracks look and change over time, and it's stuff that you might miss if you just look at the numbers. And view data has pictures in it. There's not a lot of them. They're all more recent pictures, so older sections probably won't have any. Hopefully we'll have more in the future, and maybe even 360-degree videos too. And next on the toolbar is maps. There is a map for each of the roadways. This one is for the low volume road. It's just a drawing, so it's not to scale. Because of the changes over time, there are many maps for the main line and the low volume loop. So anytime any section IDs change, there's a new map, and it'll have a star marking that the section changed. So right now I'm showing the current cells, but all the maps with the previous cells are in there too. And next on the toolbar is library, and that's reports from MnROAD, and it's not really everything. For published reports, you should probably search the TRID database first, but if it's not there, or if it's an unpublished report, then you could probably look here and search for it then. And finally at the end of the toolbar is download data. So most of the data in the MnROAD database is in here, except for the sensors. MnROAD has tons of sensor data, and we hope to get it in the future, but it's not in there right now. We started working on InfoPave last fall, so the data, and it goes through the fall of 2019. And you can download the section data. That's stuff that goes with section IDs. So it's materials and layers, it's history, and it's assigned study. There's field monitoring. That's anything from the field. So like your ride, the rutting, all the distresses, the stiffness, all the FWD data is in there. There's a lot of FWD data, and there's more. Materials testing is the lab test results like gradations, binder tests, stuff on concrete too. There are 2 weather stations at MnROAD, and their data is in there too, as well as there's MIRA weather data from LTPP for where it applies to our sites. And there is the traffic data from the way of motion on the MnROAD main line. It'd be the process data. And the counts or estimates for the rest of the roads. So here on the download data page, this is what it looks like. It's filtered for those same 8 sections, like all the other pages. And you open up the categories by clicking on the little plus sign. And then you can select the tables that you want, and then you start the downloading at the bottom. So here I just clicked on the plus sign next to materials testing. That's the lab test, and just clicked on HMA as-built properties, and I got a list on the right of the available tables. There's a bunch, and you can actually scroll through there. They aren't all showing up in here. And you can click on whichever ones you want, and you can pick some from each category. You can mix them all up if you want. And down at the bottom is this is the bottom of the download data page. I'm just highlighting that. On the top, I'm showing that you can select either an Access or an Excel file for you to download. Usually both are an option for very big files like FWD. Access is only option, and the FWD file, it doesn't get split up. It's one giant Access file. On the bottom, I'm also showing that you have the option for either download selected tables, which is just the tables that you selected and with just the sections that you filtered for, or you can select download complete data set, which gives you everything. It's a really big file, and you don't have the help of InfoPave to navigate around that data then. And here's an example of a downloaded Excel file. Each of the tables that you selected has its own tab, and in the B column, if you look really close there, you can see that all the data is assigned to a section ID. This is all assigned to 2D 2008, so that is the only one that has this specific test then. There's a lot of columns and data in these files, but there's a little bit of help to figure out what all of this means. There's always a tab called Table Dictionary, and it has a couple of descriptions about the contents of each of the tables, which should tell you what the table is all about. And to help you with what's in each table, there is a tab called Data Dictionary, and has a description and the units of every column of every table that you were downloaded in this file. So I guess that already brings me to the end, but I should give a thank you out to the people that put InfoPave together, iEngineering. They did an amazing job with the making sense out of the stuff that we gave them. And to Linda Waltenberg, who was our recently retired database administrator, and then Tom Burnham and Michael Vertis and Ben Worel and everybody for getting all the data together and sending it out. Is there any questions?
I don't see any questions in the chat. If anyone would like to unmute themselves and speak up, that is welcome as well.
Yeah, I could open it back up or open up the actual program and show it if there's anything somebody would like to see.
And again, this has been Worel. Our goal here was just to kind of show off these systems, to kind of see what's available. A lot of times we've done data requests in the past, and I still think that's maybe the best way to do it is just to give one of our researchers a call that you may know from MnDOT to kind of help you with the data requests. But this is a good tool to kind of online to orientate yourself with MnROAD, the different test sections, and some of the data that we're collecting. Again, like Steve said, we have quite a bit of the data on there right now. We'll be working towards getting the sensor data and some of the other data that we don't have on it right now on there. But that'll be in next stages of the development of InfoPave for MnROAD. But again, this is kind of a start, but keep talking to us about data requests and data needs, because I think person to person can help quite a bit. In the future, maybe we can go to a complete online system. Anything else you'd like to add, Steve?
No, it's just that there's a lot of good information on there. It is easy to use, and we went through a lot of work doing it, so please use it.
I'd also like to thank you to Steve. He was on a mobility here to MnROAD for a while. He went back to pavements right now, but he was great in kind of getting our database kind of customized and cleaned up. We're still working on that process, but did a lot of great work to make this possible. So thank you, Steve.
Well, you're welcome.
All right. So again, I guess if you have more questions, Steve and I have our names on here. You can contact us. It's probably the best way to do it. But Lauren, if we don't have anything else, I guess we could call it a day for today and work towards our November Research Pays Off seminar.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions, so.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.